Sean would check in with me every month or so, say, hey, have we heard from Kevin? Why don't you reach out to him and give him a call? And I think I called him twice or 3 times and didn't get a response back to him. And I don't know how I found out. I recall Sean saying, I think something bad happened to Kevin. There's some talk on Facebook. And I got on Facebook, and sure enough, we had heard of his suicide, and it really rocked us. We were stunned for a long time, and he was a success story in the sense that we were getting him everything that he needed regarding VA services, yet it wasn't enough. And I got the sense he was a very complicated person with a very complicated traumatic childhood, lots of institutional living. He was a foster child that was in and out of various homes. Never really had a father or a mother that had his back. And part of me said, well, that's the perfect existence for a soldier, to go into the military with that kind of a background. And there was a part of me that was like, well, maybe this does have a happy ending. But at the same time, there was also the clinical side of me that said, you know, there are a lot of red flags here, and this guy needs to be held close, and we don't want him to become a statistic, but the deck is stacked in a certain way where he could very well be a statistic, and as are many veterans in this field. And so there was a tremendous loss, and he told me lots of great stories about, and it was never, the one thing that I always remembered about Kevin is he really didn't complain about much, you know. In my line of work, there's a lot of areas where life is a struggle, or the VA is a struggle, or things aren't turning out right because of a job, or somebody has a substance abuse issue or something like that. And the world I live in is oftentimes people telling me how the world is shortchanging them. And Kevin didn't have that presentation to me. It was, he always struck me as somebody that was up for the job. Whatever we asked him to do, he would do it. And he just seemed like such a capable guy. And I think that's why I didn't see the vulnerability that I probably should have seen. And that's not to say that we missed something, but I had hopes that Kevin's adventure in life would continue unfolding, and he'd already done great things. He could have written a dozen novels, and people would have been mesmerized by his stories. And his life was cut short, and it's a shame. He once told me his purpose in life was to become a guardian of those who've been victimized or by evil, and his role was to safeguard people who were in the grips of war or whatever it was. But he genuinely felt like he he was doing good in the world. His role as a soldier was to rid the planet of people that were doing harm to humanity, and that's a pretty black and white outlook. But at the same time, if you're going to be a soldier, that's a pretty great mantra to have. And a very powerful identity to feel like your role in life is to identify those that are being subjugated to evil and malicious behavior and to liberate them. And he was, in that sense, he was kind of a hero. He had that archetype about him of like, I want to be a hero to people that are being victimized. And so, wow, there's a lot of stories in the brief time that I got to know him, but I will never forget him. He was one of the most compelling characters that I came across in my work. I've been working in veteran services for 15 years now, and he was a very compelling character, and he needs to be remembered, and we need to learn a lesson from this, and need to figure out how to intervene with those people out there that are feeling that life is so hopeless and bleak because of some type of circumstances that have cropped up, and we really need to come together and reach out to one another. And I think part of the purpose of this meeting today, I think, is trying to make it okay for people who are substantive, who've been independent all their lives, who've pulled themselves up from their bootstraps, and at some point in time have come to terms with the fact that they can't do it on their own, and life has become too onerous or tedious or hard, and we need to make it okay for those people to say, hey, time out. I'm on unsteady ground, and I need a brother here to pick me up and get my head straight. And that's not a weakness at all. If anything, that takes real courage in this environment, especially coming out of the military with the military culture. It requires a real shift of your mindset, and but it's necessary because there are real heroes out there that we're losing, and we need to make it okay for them to take a time out and get real support and kind of get them back from the edge.